Crystal Sanchez of the Sacramento Homelessness Union, and just a reminder to everyone to speak up into the microphone.
For sure. My printer wasn't working today, so I'm going to be reading my statement. So my name is Crystal Sanchez. I'm the president of the Sacramento Homeless Union. We oppose and are pursuing legal action to stop the Emergency Shelter and Enforcement Act, also known as Measure O. Homelessness is impacting this entire community, from businesses to residents to those dying on the streets with no real-time solutions. Homelessness is pitting this entire community against each other. The ballot measure is about circumventing laws that protect our unhoused and create exemptions for people being able to survive through a facade that adequate shelter will be built. 20,000 people live on our streets on any given night. Black folks are 3 to 4 times more likely to experience homelessness in our streets. They are often doubly targeted and profiled due to their race and being unhoused. Our most recent point in time count, we've had an astonishing 67% increase. Leading us to have more unhoused folks than in San Francisco. We continue to create policy and throw money at solutionless ideas, consults, administrators, and never actually getting to the root cause of homelessness. Years of bad policy and false narratives have created this state-created chaos and homeless state of affairs. Years of divestment from our social services and housing have created a war on the poor. Yet we continue to invest in law enforcement just to move people around and not actually resource them, which is cruel and unusual punishment when you're being told there's no room at the inn, but you must move along. Homelessness and its multifacets are impacting, again, this entire community. I repeat, homelessness, not the unhoused people, but homelessness. This ballot measure does not create housing, nor is there a guarantee that the county will provide the wraparound services. The ballot measure will bankrupt the city due to lawsuits, the ability to provide the spaces, and challenges as to what it may look like. It will also be challenged by our neighborhoods, as we have seen with all other solutions. Neighborhoods don't want them in their backyard. The ballot initiative wants people to believe that this is about shelter. This is not about shelter. This is about removing people out of sight, out of mind. Sacramento currently lacks over 100,000 units of affordable housing per the HUD guidelines. Let me walk you through a day of outreach in my shoes. The community complains. They call 311. Code enforcement and law enforcement come out and they tag encampments. Due to Martin versus Boise, they are supposed to offer them resources. They cannot move them. However, they are handed cards with numbers that go to no beds, no resources. And when time's up, the city pays thousands of dollars for law enforcement and city entities to come and take all of the survival gear, basic food, basic needs, and everything else. People move one block over and then start the cycle again. The Department of Community Response often blogs about the lack of shelter space and resources for those experiencing homelessness. This is not ending homelessness. This is not problem solving, innovation, or solution building. Placing people in internment-style camps or spaces also is not the answer. It's extremely expensive for those who don't know, about $4,000 per head per month per person with no services. It doesn't protect people from the elements, nor are they made of brick and mortar per the Chico versus Warren case. We know that positive outcomes in the current sheltering system are not housing. We know that people are being evicted at huge rates and thrown on the street. Over 30,000 people applied for rental assistance, and less than a third of them were actually able to get the assistance. We know the median one-bedroom rent right now in Sacramento is $23.50. Most of Sacramento does not make 2.5 times the rent here. We know that people are being discharged from hospitals, often dumped in front of Loaves and Fishes, and we see children growing up in encampments, learning that survival comes before being a child. I'm going to go ahead and skip all of this stuff. How many ideas do we have to have before something actually gets done? 2018, we proposed in the city that 100 beds be put in every district. That didn't happen. A comprehensive siting plan, although we denounced it, never happened. A bunch of money was invested in spaces that were never used while people were swept to make room for those spaces. Now here we are in 2022 with a ballot measure that is being brought forward by the Chamber of Commerce's business districts from across the state and a consultant who consulted one of the biggest messes in LA that we have seen yet. The strategy has been pulled together in what appears to be statewide deprivation of unhoused rights by our government entities. We demand that you open the buildings, stop creating barriers through enforcement of access, give us places to resource people, put them inside, give them the wraparound services. It shouldn't take a year and a half to get into rehabilitation. We have long lists of people who are waiting for services. They are not service resistant. We have people who are continually put on wait lists. What we do see is that the city is resistant in investing and providing the services that are needed. Please vote no on Measure O and the criminalization of people just trying to survive. We demand housing now and no more death on the streets.
Thank you so much, Crystal. There's nobody who has a better understanding of the horrific treatment that unhoused people face than Crystal, and she's been a critical resource on this campaign. The next person I'd like to introduce is Howard Lawrence with Sacramento Area Congregations Together. He could speak more to the vile consequences of this ballot measure should it pass.
Thank you. My name is Howard Lawrence, and I'm a member of Sacramento Area Congregations Together. We are a faith-based community organizing network, and we are plaintiffs in this litigation for a number of reasons. First, this measure does nothing to end homelessness in Sacramento. In order to end homelessness in Sacramento, we need to stop the inflow of people who are becoming homeless every day. And this measure does nothing to do that. Second, this measure provides what we call a litigation minefield. It reminds us of the laws that were just passed in Texas regarding abortion rights, giving citizens the right to sue for non-compliance with the measure. So we're going to waste money on litigation instead of addressing the crisis of homelessness. We need a strategy to bring Sacramento together. We need to develop a plan that will make homeless rare, brief, and infrequent in Sacramento. We have the tools and knowledge to create such a plan. Other communities have policies in place that have significantly reduced the number of homeless people on the streets. All of these communities that have had success have had a housing first policy. We need to fight for real solutions. No more false promises. Please vote no on Measure O.
Thank you so much, Howard. The next person I'd like to introduce is Councilmember Katie Valenzuela. She's been a crucial voice of opposition on the City Council and can speak to the financial and practical consequences of this measure.
Hello everybody, my name is Katie Valenzuela. I represent District 4 and I am very sad to be here today. I really wish that my colleagues, I'm going to wait for this truck to go by. I really wish my colleagues had not allowed us to be manipulated by people who have no knowledge of how to solve this crisis, no direct experience helping people in the community. Not one person who stands behind me who has spent countless hours, days, months, and years helping people on the street were consulted as a result of this measure. We allowed ourselves to be coerced into putting something on the ballot that is bad for people on the street, bad for the communities and businesses who are impacted by this crisis, and ultimately bad for our city. This is a foolish measure, and I'm so sad to be here today because we are wasting urgent time and we are wasting urgent resources that should be spent on the true problems and the true solutions that we know will work, on getting our county partners to come to the table to provide the urgent, critical services that are needed, on really talking about what it takes to prevent homelessness. In this point in time count, everybody talked about the total number. What nobody talked about were the best practices. Those researchers said very clearly, having emergency rent assistance and eviction moratoriums worked. Having emergency rent assistance and eviction moratoriums kept more people off the street. Why are we standing here talking about continuing to move people, which harms them and makes the crisis harder to address? Why aren't we talking about what we know works and what we know we can do today to keep this crisis from continuing to get worse on our streets? So I am sad to be here today, but I will continue to be here and continue to use my voice for the solutions I know work in urgent pursuit of what we all need, which is a real solution to this crisis, and not, as Howard articulately said, more false promises. We don't have more time and resources to waste, and this measure is unfortunately another very harmful exercise that will only result in more people on the street and more harm on our communities. Thank you for being here today, and I urge you to vote no on this measure if it reaches the ballot.